Okay, okay. I it's very hot. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. It's so hot. I had to jump in the lake. I just jumped out of the lake. I just welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I just jumped out of the lake and I thought to myself, whew, I'll just put on some earrings and go on Wellness Wednesday. Typical Indian. Hair is bushy, no makeup. I got my bathing suit underneath. It's all soaking wet. I got my Hawaii shoes on. They're all soaking wet. Anyway, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Welcome to Native Wellness Institute. We always are positive, productive, and proactive. And whoo, have we got some stuff to share with you this hour. I'm just bubbling. I'm bubbling with good news, and I'm bubbling with gonna be good news because we're saying prayers and we have faith. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Nistu ni Daniko Makoyo Sakoyi. It's my second Blackfoot name because I had a dream in 2017, and so I got a new name. Okstokama, given to me by Atstanikiwa Agnes Ironpipe, was my first name, and I still feel like it means the characteristics of the black mole on the prairie. So that's kind of why I hold it dear. But I had that name got transferred to Josie Ironpipe Fitzgerald back in I think 2018. She got my name, Okstokama. And she's 14 years old. She's a barrel racer. Anyways, so that's who I am in Blackfoot. And then in English, and the IRS in America means Internal Revenue Service. IRS in Canada means Indian Residential School. So don't talk in acronyms. Say the words. So my IRS name, because as of today, I'm legal. No FBI, because FBI can stand for full-blooded Indian. FBI, but FBI is a Federal Bureau of an Investigation. So far they have not handcuffed me or taken me away because I pay my taxes. I try to, in recovery, little by little, because, people that still drink and lose their license and lose all that kind of, lose their marriages, lose their dogs, they lose their clothes. Yeah, they just keep drinking and they just lose their houses, they lose their horses, they lose their cats. I mean, when you keep on drinking, you just lose everything. But when you're in recovery, and I try my best, I'm not perfect. In recovery, you gain it all back. And so it's like a rite of passage for those of us, and those, that are just so good all your life, whoever you are, you ain't Indian. I don't know no good Indians good all their life. I mean, anyway, those of it's a rite of passage when you get sober. And it takes you a long time to clean up the wreckage of your past. All your exes, all your alimonies, all your residents. And you after, you have a big old black trash bag with just your belongings. And you're just pitiful walking around the res. Whenever you see an Indian, male, female, two-spirit, and they got a big black bag and they're walking the res, they just broke up with someone. And that's all they got. No. It's what's in that bag. If that. Anyway, part of recovery, and I say in humor, because I had to go through with it. I had, two DUIs, one in California and one in Nevada. And I had over 35 years ago, I had to clean it up. And I had to go to jail because the computers talk to the computer. and I had to spend 10 days in a high security facility right outside of Reno, Nevada. And I was already sober some years, so I went in there sober. I went in there and I was with women, native women, because you stick to your own kind. You don't change the rules in there. And I went into that prison, and all of these women were doing big time because they took the rap for their partners, or the men that they were with are their partners. And I had to spend 10 days, in which I did. And I actually spent 9, and then I got out a day early, and I had my family had just dropped me off. So I had nothing, and there was no cell phones back then. Remember, we could just call. You had to get to a place, and then you had to make a collect call. Now, now anybody, yeah, anyway, you can just borrow a phone and call up. But that was the greatest rite of passage for me, because I was all clean legally. I was cleaned up the wreckage of my past. And I got out a day early, and I was 5 miles away from Reno, Nevada, where I could go make a collect call and tell my family to come get me a day early. And when I was going to Reno, Nevada, because I got out a day early, I was just, and I was talking to the sisters in there. I heard all their stories, and I was not running. I was skipping. You know how, like, off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We're off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz. That's how I was skipping to town 5 miles, because I was free. I had freedom. I had cleaned up my past. And so that's a one story. So tell us, how did you clean up your past? Or is your past haunting you? I know some of you out there. Is your past haunting you? Anyway, so let's talk about the good news. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. We just have to say, thank you for the prayers for our coworker, Wade McGee. Thank you. He's doing well and he's healing. And then we also need to ask you for prayers for Shalala. Shalala, our staff that used to take care of our grounds. She went to New Zealand with us. Te Pura, if you're out there in Aotearoa, New Zealand, say prayers, because she's getting some more treatments from the cancer on her leg and where other places that it may have traveled. So we believe in the prayers. I mean, whew. Think about one of the pieces of good news is ask for help. Ask people to pray for you. Ask, if you suffer in silence or you're so private, ask for help. You're badass, Auntie. Ask for help. And one of the ways you can do it, just like we're doing now, we need prayers for Shalala. We need continued prayers. And then just think of your relatives. I got some other news today, but I see it as good news, because we got to spend an elder and bishop. We got to spend 3 days with him, and he passed Sunday. They just sent the news to my sister Lori and I, because we were the NWI facilitators. But when we were with him, and he just had the best look in his eye. He had all his relatives around him. He had down to his grandchildren. He had everybody had come, and everybody had made food. And then we played games. They were laughing games and trust building games, and everything that we did, he jumped right into it. And I remember him saying something like, he was 70 something. And I'm sorry, sometimes my memory, he was more closer to 80 than he was to 70. And he was talking about Cecilia Fire Thunder. So that was one of the stories I wanted to share with you early this morning. Was Cecilia Fire Thunder. And so Tilford, rest in peace. So when someone passes, like if they pass Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, he's the 4 days, 4 days they get to travel around. And 4 days, that's why they'll come around, you'll have a hummingbird, you'll have a butterfly, you'll smell how they used to smell. If they wore cologne or perfume, you'll smell it. And so and then they cross over, if they've been sung the journey song, if that's your protocol, or if you went out and put out tobacco the 4 days and your family told stories and you send them off so that nothing holds them. And and some of it, just do what your protocols, what your elders have taught you. Some tribes just have wailing and sobbing. I remember my grandma Atstanikiwa, Agnes Ironpipe. Very early, I learned she would go up on the hill in Heart Butte and she would wail. She would just go up there and she'd be wailing, just crying out to bat to be open. She'd be wailing and she'd cry till her snots came out. And she'd be wailing. And what she was doing it for other people. I understand. Then she'd come back down and she'd say, "Oh, I feel good. I feel better," because she had released it and she had asked for help. So that elder, I could just see his face, because Cecilia Fire Thunder and I would always tease him over the years. He was the chairperson. He was the head of this. He always for Bishop Paiute Indians. He was always in Washington, D.C., advocating for their water, advocating for their land, advocating for their language. And this is old school, because let's see, what Cecilia's 78. They've been doing it for those years, 70 years, 60 years. It's not, they just didn't see something on TikTok and then start a revolution. Like we see something on TikTok, and they've been doing it for a long time. And he was seeing his dreams. He was walking on his prayers, and they just built new buildings. And the brand new buildings were, for their cultural center. Their brand new buildings were for their schools and of language, of their culture. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. So I wanted to start with, and I'm in the shade because, oh my God, it feels to me, it feels like I'm, how Indians, if we feel like we're just piece of bacon, we're just a piece of bacon frying, not to see the sun just comes down and fries us. Anyway, so I thought this is my mother, because it has her name on it. Betty N. Cooper is on this, because she used to put this up for years when we'd go put up our lodges, and she had a white wall tent and would camp at all Buster Yellow Kidney's Sundances, and then would camp Heart Butte, and then would move into town and camp in North American Indian Days. But this, and I was just, I'll have to tell Steve Barrios and my LGBTQ two spirit friends, my mom this was her umbrella, and just, but look at the colors. Look at the colors. And she was an ally to Sioux Spirit. Well, advocacy. Anyway, mom would always have this umbrella up. And so I want to tell you the Cecilia Fire Thunder story first, because she called me. It was very, early for me. She usually calls because she goes to work on the dot. She's a nurse, and now she works at Marty Mission Indian Residential School. She's in the residential school, so she gets to work at 8. That's just how she's hardwired. And old school, I was thinking about that. they're not late. They never come late. They say untreated codependents are always late. And then I sometimes, doing our best, it's just anyway, Cecilia. So I think it was around between 7 and 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. Because I was getting my smudge. I was gonna go for my walk, and I had some company. They're out kayaking up the way. They said they were kayaking from Otiria, New Zealand. Joe Stone yesterday. So when Cecilia called, and the story I want to share with you, because it has to do with she was asking about how do you protect yourself. How do you bring abundance? How do you take care of your spirit? And so she was we help each other remember, and she goes, remember that time? And so I moved here in 1994, so like from 1990, maybe to like 97, 98. Cecilia Fire Thunder and we'd go up to Canada, we'd go up to the United States, but we were often invited, and she wanted to know about this time when she was invited to Abatsapikani, North Pagan Nation, Pikani by Brockett area. And she had Mrs. Crowshoe, Rosie, Rosie Day Rider Crowshoe. But Rosie, okay, so she was calling because she remembered, and I said, Cecilia, I think that was like 1995 that you went up because there was something that I was involved in. So you were up there, and when they brought her in, and she was inviting them to empowerment of Native women, inviting them to take their power and not to let anyone disturb their power. That was a lot of, at that time, Native Wellness Institute. We did wellness with women events, and there was the other with men and Two Spirit, but we did wellness with women. And so she was up there, and she goes, remember that time when Rosie Red Crow Day Rider, and she said, remember when she painted my face? And then I said, oh yeah, Cecilia, because I remember you called me. So Cecilia proceeded, she said, I was there, and they told me, she said, because they put me on, I was on the ground, and they told me that it's okay to be on the ground. The ground succumb because Mother Earth is your ally. Mother Earth takes care of you. Mother Earth's energy. So, if you're not feeling bad, lay on the ground. Get grounded. Just lay on the ground and you get grounded. I mean, that's why a lot of our ceremonies, we have little ceremonial. So she said, I remember they put me, I was on the ground, and Rosie painted my whole face red. She said it was my entire face. And so I just was listening to her because, different people paint different. Ganaxtimada, to see their enemy clearly, and it's symbolic to taste the blood of the enemy. And then, some paint, it's stucky beaver, but she painted her whole face, and she was saying it was so, and she said, all I remember is because she told me you can't take this off before sundown, but leave it on. And so Rosie was giving her instructions, and she said, but she said that powerful act of painting, that powerful act. She said, I remember Rosie telling me, and I'm remembering how she told me this morning. So in oral history, this is oral history. It's not written down, but it is on Wellness Wednesday because there's a point to it. It's about protecting ourselves. So she said Rosie told her that this would protect her for the rest of her life. Cause she lives in Pine Ridge. She's Oglala. She speaks Oglala. She walks Oglala. She does ceremonies Oglala. She's from Pine Ridge, and so. But Rosie, this is what she told her, and it made me just swallow hard. Is she told her, "I'm painting you, and this is gonna protect you, but this is gonna give you abundance for the rest of your life." And Cecilia believed. She said, here I am. She's still going to work at 78, and she's doing some powerful work with getting the stories of resiliency out of residential and boarding school. And Cecilia was in that boarding school, where she is now. But this painting, she said, she said, they're doing some podcasts here at Cinta Gillespie and Spotted Eagle and Lakota College and the other tribal college. They're doing some podcasts on me, which was Cecilia, and they said, "Is it okay if they call you because they want to hear stories of my life?" I said, "Yeah, tell them to call." So, but while she was talking about that, so remember, what are the protocols? What are the ceremonies that protect you? Or what is, the medicine pouches? What is, I was thinking, even the dentilia, I was just gifted these earrings, and I'm just wearing them for the power hour. I wouldn't, because I'm doing yard work, and I'm still taking, I guess I'm having a little vacay today. I went swimming before I took care of my emails, and then I'm taking care of my yard. There's anyway, we're not gonna. So Cecilia Fire Thunder, I wanted to share that story with you because she also reminded me. Because today, one of our colleagues of many, many years with the Nanakoa is the Native American adult children of alcoholics movement that existed in the late 80s, and it went, and I think the last Nanakoa gathering was in Oklahoma City or something. And so one of our colleagues we knew her as Anna Latimer. And so Cecilia, today is her memorial on Bainbridge because she was the Indipino. Indipinos are half Filipino and half Native. And so so rest in peace, Anna Latimer. So that was, she was saying, what was her real name? Because now, people are starting to change their names, and that's good if they take back their indigenous name or their tribal name, or even if they were married and they're not married to that person, they take back their real name. So so Cecilia said she saw it, but she didn't. She knew her by Anna Latimer. I knew her by Anna Latimer. So we were discussing that, and so Cecilia started to share in the Lakota Nation. They're starting to take back another painting, and that painting is an old ceremony that has existed, but now they're doing it more often, in which they paint the red hands of the Oglala, or the red hands of the, because there's Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, but there's, Eagle Butte. There's 9 districts. There's all these Eagle Butte, there's Wombly, there's all the women that come for they have a ceremony where they paint the hands red, because Native women do everything with their hands. And if you think about it, I mean, because if you've ever had an owie and you couldn't use your hand, right? If you had an owie, and you are like, if you write right-handed and something happens to it and you have to do everything left-handed. So this ceremony, Cecilia was saying that they're doing, and she does a lot with Rick Two Dogs and all of all the women that she sundanced with Rick Two Dogs, for years. It just, sometimes I in my mind I just go, like, how many years you been sun dancing? Because sun dancing to them, it's not like Okan, it's a sun dance, and Okan is like a medicine lodge here in Siksikatepi, Blackfoot territory. But she sun danced with Rick Two Dogs. I want to say 30 years, because like it just the past couple of years, I would just say, well, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm getting ready for Sundance. She had her own protocols and her own ways. And I just remember going, and I had my red van. So that's like long time ago when she first started Sundancing. We went out there, and Rick Two Dogs, he was like, I really loved him because he didn't allow any white people. And he literally, you had to drive up, and we drove up in the red van. I had my daughter with me, and they look at you, and if you're questionable, you have to show your card that you're an Indian. But they just don't. They don't care if it's spouses or whatever. They just Rick just did not allow any non natives to come to his ceremony, and so that was new. Because that was just new, because I had sometimes we have allies, and it's not a good or a bad thing, but back then they did not allow any non-natives. And so I remember going there, and oh, it was just so powerful to see Cecilia dance those 4 days. And we went to, it's called support. You go and you pray, you help, you and it's a lot of it. It's about helping with the food. It's about being there. It's about, and there, there's a part where they bring you the pipe, and you dance with the pipe, with their pipes, the Oglala pipes, to support. So Cecilia was reminding me, so that now think about when you get your face painted, when you get your hands painted, and this memory of Anna Latimer. She was saying, remember the first time we met? And then she goes, was it Great Falls? And like, this is like 1989, and she goes, Missoula. And it was just because I knew it was Missoula. But when you're with your elders that are 10 years older or 20 years older, or just even my age, because I'm 69, badass 69, badass Auntie 69. And if I die tomorrow, it's okay. But so just bragging around, die tomorrow. Yeah, I'm so healthy. Boom, dead. No. anyway anyway so she reminded me, and this is a story that she got my memory, because Cecilia Fire Thunder was our guest speaker. And she hadn't, at that time, she had not, because she was the president of Oglala Nation in 2002, 2003, and 2004. The first female president of Pine Ridge. But she wasn't that yet. So she was our speaker. And she started, and I was just listening to her, because she said, remember when I came out on stage and I had my red cowboy boots on? And that, I go, oh my God, yes, Cecilia. You walked out onto the stage, and everybody, we were all healing and crying. We'd never come together saying that, yes, the children of alcoholics are affected, and we deserve healing. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. So, but she had walked out onto the stage, and she had, hey, look at my nails are red. For Missing and Murdered, we did a lot of activities, but she walked out. And I said, what? I go, oh my God, Cecilia, because remember after that, when you came out and you were speaking to us, that we had to shift the narrative for Native women. And in the past, if a woman wore red, anything, red dress, red boots, red high heels, red skirt, red, in the past, and that's what Cecilia said, yeah, we had to break the paradigm. We had to shift it, because they would always say, oh, that woman's a whore. A whore. The stereotype, you wear red, you're a whore, so you deserve whatever, you're disposable. Bull crap. Bull crap. So here's Cecilia walking out on the stage in her red boots. And so that was like 1989. And then for, 89, 90, 91, every time would have 2,000 Native women come together in Phoenix for wellness and women. And everybody had red boots. Even when we went to Toronto for the Nanakoa, everybody had red boots. It gave permission to empower, and I guess the topic around empowering women, when your face is painted symbolically by Estebatapio, you are empowered. When you go into a ceremony and they paint your hands red, you are empowered. When you wear a red dress, you are empowered. It's not only to stop stolen sisters and missing and murdered, but you're empowered. And so, Cecilia, so then I wanted to start with, what are the things today that empower women? Besides eyelashes, eh? Woohoo! If your eyelashes are out to here, you're really empowered. If your eyelashes, if a bird can land on them, you're really empowered. No. No. So just, I invite you. So think about, the redness of, painting red, the redness of a red scarf, the redness of, just that we had Memorial Day, and we asked, because a lot of our people can't afford really expensive headstones, so we had some rocks, really nice rocks, and I brought some nice oil paints. And so for one of my Aunt Melinda, and for my dad, and for a Tokan beaver iron pipe. Well, one of our little relatives, Yvonne Harwood, Reese Harwood is her father, and Amber Williamson is their mother. But let's see, what is she? 5th grade? I don't think sixth. She's not quite 6th grade. Anyway, she came, and I said, I have these paints, and darn, I forgot the brushes. And she goes, who wants to volunteer to paint? I'll Sharpie it, and then you got to paint when they were born, when they passed, and their name. She goes, I will. She just volunteers for everything. So she, we got her my Grandpa Sam's ceremonial blanket, and we laid it down, and we put out the paints. So what color does she choose? Red. So, so on it said Dad, for my dad, Pete Leonard Newbreast, born in 1936. And then it was kind of funny because we were visiting, and our whole family, all of our cousins. It was just the best whole day on Memorial Day, because in America, that's what we do, is remember those that we loved who are no longer here, and we decorate their graves. But she had painted it with red, Dad, and then Aunt Melinda, a lot of it was red. And because I told her, use your instinct, my girl, and take the paints, and you paint it. And since she didn't have brushes, she painted it with her fingers, and she just delicately took her time. And it was bright. I wish you, and and then we brought flowers, and we brought things that signified them. I put a fresh pair of moccasins on my dad's grave, because now, and he can wear them on the other side. I put moccasins there, and we nailed them down so they wouldn't blow away. And I just felt so good, and people would come by, rather than a Walmart flower, you'll have moccasins, because what do they do with these Walmart flowers in sand hills, the big sandy? So when I die, or no, give me flowers when I'm alive. I'm dead. You bring all these flowers, I'm dead. I can't enjoy them. And So bring people flowers when they're alive. Okay, so this is my address. Hey, I'm just teasing you because so we decorated, but oh, it was so beautiful. And then we had a flags if they were a veteran, and they were flapping and they were waving, and I swear that was just so much good for the heart. It was just so much good for the spirit. It was so that was the way that we were empowering. And our little relative, she came over because there was our other Jen Sankador, Glennie Sankador, her father, and then Sitsi. Oh, see, my auntie, she was so beautiful. She had her first child when she was 13. That was David Lee Roundine. Then she had Gunnaskina, Mousy Roundine, Cookie Roundine, Maggie Katz, Carol Roundine, and then much later, then she had Harold Sankador, Jimmy Sankador. And see, this is what you have to have this in your head. Memorize all this. Jimmy Sankador, and then Glennie Sankador, and then they had Lori New Robe. That was so they had different fathers, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not to pass judgment. And Siksikatepi and Blackfoot Confederacy and a lot of tribes. There was a lot of babies made and they weren't by the same people. I mean, someone snuck into camp. Or it was a secret here. Boom, a baby comes out and it looks just like so-and-so. No, we love them. We embrace them. We don't throw the baby away. We love them and we embrace them. So I was just thinking, when we did that ceremony, because there was 4 or 5 hours of visiting, and we were telling stories of everyone who was buried there. And then all the flags we knew who was a veteran, Old Voice, my Uncle Gerald, decorations, and then Awatski, my mom's mom. She's a bullshoe and was decorated, and then people started coming in, and I'm going back in my mind. It was a beautiful day of healing and celebratory Memorial Day. And they say sometimes, and I think about that, they say you're never dead until you're forgotten, or you're never talked about, no one mentions you. So don't talk about and don't mention those Republicans. They'll be dead. I always think about the funny of it. Anyway, so welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Well, we're always the teachings of our ancestors, Native Wellness Institute. We've been doing this for 5 years now. Well, first we did it was called the Power Hour, 7 days a week, and it's free. It's our give back. But you can donate to Native Wellness Institute. We're at a place that we'd appreciate donation, even if it's a penny, 2 pennies, 3 pennies, But our mission, Native Wellness Institute, we've been in existence since 1988 and formally as a 501c3. It's a status. We prefer Jalene Joseph is our executive director. And I like how she says, woo, a cloud came in. Wow. Anyway, she calls it our organization, and we repeat it, a social profit, not a non-profit, because we bring the teachings, anything that falls under the teachings of our ancestors, like an umbrella, we do that. Some of our biggest healings happen. Now we're going back to Hawaii every year, every March. Come with us. One of our biggest healings with Native youth, is at Grand Round next month. Our collective, where we bring 5 organizations together, is in Ignacio, Colorado. June 18th, 19th, and 20th. Casey Nicholson and I are going to Lac du Frambois in a couple of days. And then I think we're going to be at Shakopee with the American Indian Cancer Foundation right after that at Shakopee. And then right after that is Healing Together. And then Native Wellness is going to Albuquerque to all of the mental health facilities in New Mexico. So June is, and so that's why I'm enjoying my time with you. And I kind of, it's just, oh, there's some clouds. It's beautiful when clouds come in. That's why I have the umbrella up, because it's hot. It's, in Indian, in Montana, like white people say hot. Um, Indians say, "Ooh, it was hot." Man, it was hot at the rodeo. It was hot. Oh man, at the powwow, it was just hot. We're just sweating, it was really hot. So if you come here, say like it's HUT sounding hut, hut. So anyway, it's pretty hot. And I have a thermometer of, ooh wee. To us, it's hot. It's 80. You might in Arizona or in California. My good friend Timothy Juno, he said it's going to be 100 this week because he's working outside building, some steps off. He works on these houses so he starts early. So you start work early while it's not, because midday it's really hot. But coming to you, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. So the other, this sparked when I was talking with Cecilia, and she was talking about empowerment of women, and we started to go through, we've lost some of our friends, our colleagues, male and female, and to spirit, they're passing. And so one of the ideas in it, they used to call it who holds, and it's an unusual English word, who holds the institutional wisdom or the institutional knowledge of your system. And so if you think it's your, like your First Nation or your tribe, who holds the institutional knowledge? And that means someone who has watched it 5 decades, who has watched it 6 decades, even 4 decades or 6 decades. So they know, that it's like here, we did not have land allotted till 1934. So before that, all the land belonged to all of us. And then it was allotted. So it was 380 acres allotted, but they set it up so that, when that person died, it went to their children, So here we might have one allotment where 1,000 people own it. And then they said, you get 1,000 Indian people trying to make a decision. They all just start fighting. No, that's mine. And, greedy or whatever. And so they can never make a decision. That's why Alois Cabal is so famous. Alois Cabal, because our fractionated land was treated so badly. Like, with my father never got any lease checks till right before he died. It went, it got stolen. And then when she sued the government, they had to pay, and that's why fractionated that Alois Cabal money, that suit is they bought all the fractionated land. Even if, you had 2 feet by 2 feet with your other 3,000 relatives, they bought it. And then they gave it back to the tribe. So here, just, we have big land base in America. We have little land base. In Montana, we have 1.5 million acres. And in that first Alois Cabal buyback, we got back 322,000 acres. We bought it back in the suit, and then it's given to the tribe. So some really productive things are happening. I was just, and I just don't want to just speak about where I live, but, I was thinking about Bishop, or I was thinking about Grand Ronde. they build their own schools, they build their own arbors, they build their own cultural centers, they build new tribal buildings, they build new buildings for elders to live comfortable. And so that's kind of what our tribe is doing. And you know what, our tribe is just doing it. They're watching what's happening at the federal level. In fact, the Blackfoot Confederacy was at Ottawa yesterday for the 45th Canadian session. And so they invited Ori Crowfoot, the chief of Sixikai, and they invited Leonard Weasel Traveler or Bastine, and they were dressed in their full buckskin. Ori had his kami poismanix, his stand up, and Prince Charles noticed. Because, we all know how Prince Charles dresses, right? With that tie where they point where they really want you to look, eh? Anyway, he was dressed, but here's our dignified representatives, because they wanted to be at the table of the decision making of that. Ooh, there's a hummingbird. The hummingbird, it's coming, it's a foot away. This hummingbird, it is right there in front of my face. That's been happening. Yesterday, oh, that hummingbird. It stayed in my face, and it's my ancestors. I share the other good news, when you get to be an older person, it's good to, especially your sacred things, transfer them, but give them away. And it's a process of letting go. I think they have shows for the white people. It's called de-hoarding. Or you got all that stuff, and there's hoarders. They just keep buying, got the price tags on. Like, how many pairs of shoes you got? I need 450 pairs of shoes just in case. Hey, I need 1,000 pair of earrings just in case. Hey, anyway, anyway, so yesterday for me, I gifted my lodge, my 18-footer that was sewn by Omi Crawford. And it had Omi Crawford liners. And she's 90 years old. She doesn't sew teepees. We call them lodges. But I gifted it to my relative. And there was so much emotion just for us, and we had Natusi was our witness. Stupatapi, the son, was our witness. And but Cecilia also helped me. She always helps me over the years. She goes, now that you've gifted that away, and I go, yeah, because I don't see myself, number one, laying on the ground anymore, sleeping. I don't, but she said, now that you've given something so sacred and something that has so much meaning and so much, institutional history with it. Because Omi's still alive. We just had a birthday for her, but she made everyone's lodge. You were fortunate if Omi Crawford from Hart Butte and Scapi Picani sewed your lodge, because it was perfection. She was so skilled, and she put her little, and it's almost like a winter count, like a pictograph on it. And so I gifted it to my iron pipe relative, and bought him new teepee poles, because the lodge, I hadn't put it up, and if you're not using it, give it away. Give away 400 pairs of those shoes and just keep 20. Eh? So anyway, so this hummingbird, when it was so much emotion for us. So when I saw my iron pipe relative, and he's maleness, because sometimes he's a bull rider, bronc rider, raising 4 children, with delicate love. I see how he is. But there was so much emotion. But when we unwrapped it, because I said I wanted to make sure I was going to re-sew and fix it. But now that you got the poles, I think let's just take it out. So we took it out, and then we looked at it, and he was just overwhelmed because it was in good condition. Everything was in good condition because I learned to keep a lodge anyway. So and he had just needed to run back and take care of some stuff at over at Duck Lake at Leaning Tree, and so then I felt like the ancestors were with us, and it has to do, with this hummingbird, and it just flew in front of my face. But so it was all laid out, and when you lay out a lodge, it covers a lot of space, and then the teepee liners were pretty tall. Teepee liners, it covered. So when we were folding it up, we didn't speak any words, and I was just like, iron pipe to Nistu, iron pipe, Nistu Mokoyo Sakoi, and we just went, rolled it, tied it off, and he threw it on his back. And later on, because I was we had so much good emotion of the blessing and of unconditional love, I didn't think about it. Like, no one said nothing, and we just like rolled up that lodge, and he put it in his dually, and when he was heading up, what I have learned, and this is, I encourage you, take time to just sit still. Take time to just look at the water. Ooh, they're talking to us. What do you got to say to these people? They said, behave. You ever say, behave? Anyway, I just came in and I sat still right against the house right there. I just sat there. And when I was sitting there, as I sat there and I was just feeling my emotions, it was like a let go and let God thing. It was so beautiful. Then that hummingbird just came and zzz. And so when that does that, stay still. Don't make noise. Zzz. Here I am doing the Power Hour Wellness Wednesday, and it comes and fly. And it flew like to this side and looked me in the eye. Then it flew to this side and looked me in the eye. And then it went like this around my head, flew around my head. And then it went off. And I just said, Atokan, Atstanikiwa, White Cribber, Dad, Monokani. I just started naming all of the ancestors. Is that you? so, is that you? And then I just said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I don't know how long he sat there and just stayed still and said, thank you. So that's what I encourage you to do on Wellness Wednesday. Be grateful and thankful for what you got. And then I went in and I made a sandwich and I took a nap. And then, that sometimes you just got to make a sandwich and take a nap. And napping is, a superpower. That's what Gene Tagabon said. That's what we learned in COVID. And, but napping is, sleep time. And when we're sleeping, just like before, we've talked about the dreams. Pay attention to your sleep hygiene. And I always touch here because, where your soft spot is. Sometimes that's where they get to come in. Take care of your soft spot. Even if you're, 80 years old and it's kind of ragged soft spot. whatever. Got wrinkles, eh? Anyway, just, napping, sleeping, and dreaming and remembering your dreams. Remembering your dreams. Put out your tobacco and ask to remember your dreams. Put out your tobacco in the water. Ask the water, the Strabatapi, to keep the water clean. Put out your tobacco by the tree. Ask them to take care of that tree. Strabatapi, spumukana, there's even this little critter over here. Oh yeah, he's telling everyone to stay, because I have some birds making, their bird nest, and they're gonna have their babies. So they're all yelling. They're being tore, and I heard a new word, territoriality. It's like Treaty 7 is all of Canada. Eh? It's like that crazy guy that was trying to make a 54 state. That guy is nuts. Anyway, territoriality. We learn it from animals. They're making sounds that this is my region. This is my food. And maybe they're just luluing at the umbrella. Because check out that umbrella. Anyway, we've come to the end of our hour. We've come to looking at the green. Where the lawnmower needs help. So anyone can help fix my lawnmower, get it going. Now there's more dandelions everywhere, but it's so peaceful. You can see why I just jumped in the lake and I went all the way out to the corner there and just stayed in the water. Because I've been taught, my dad always said that Otstanikiwa used to make them, jump into the cool, cold water. And so Edward and Muffet, they always used to sing a calling song. So I started in the east, and then I jumped into the water. And then I just kept going down, praying for Stucky, beavers, loons, pita, all of the geese. There's some geese out there, all of the water animals. There used to be frogs here. There hasn't been too many. Just praying, just saying the prayers all the way. Moto kiks, ganax demata, kami poismunix, nanamska. And walking in the water, and I just got peaceful. So that's why I just came to you today. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. We're gonna close. We're always here every Wednesday, because we want to encourage you to take care of your self-care and just to be alive and take care of your recovery, take care of yourself, take care of your family, your animals, your pet skunks. I have them, my pet foxes, my cinnapaws, So with that, we'll see you next Wednesday. Kitakito Matsuno.